Today we'll be making two candy-like products, a gelatin-based choke and a polyglycol-based choke. The gelatin base, or gummy, would be great for pediatric patients, while the polyglycol, or the lozenge, would be ideal for patients who have trouble swallowing.
Here are our calculations for the gelatin troche. We are given the amounts of each ingredient needed to make one troche or one gummy. The number given for the base, 1.144, is how much of this base is needed for one troche without any other ingredient. Therefore, our calculation will be for the amount of base needed when we include the displacement of the other ingredients. For this base, solids displace at 90% of their weight instead of 100%. Liquids displace at 100%. So we need to calculate what 90% of the total solid weight is, which is 0.03168 grams, and 100% of our liquid, our only one being the flavoring, which is 0.02. Adding these together, we get 0.0517, which we need to subtract from the total amount of base to fill one troche. This will give us 1.09 grams. So 1.09 grams of the base is needed for each troche.
Alrighty, so first you're going to start out by taking your beaker and placing it on the scale and tearing it out. Next, you're going to take your gelatin base and you're going to cut it into small pieces into the beaker, like so. And you're cutting it into those small pieces because it'll help it melt faster. And this beaker that I'm using is going to be the beaker that you're going to place into your hot water bath. Okay, so next we're going to set up our hot water bath. So as you can see, I have this larger beaker on the hot plate, and then I'm going to place this spatula inside the larger beaker, and then use the smaller beaker, place it on top, and use the spatula to kind of prop up the smaller beaker. And we're doing this so that it will cause the glasses not to bump together while it's boiling. So here I have my pre-weighed ingredients, and I'm going to place these into the mortar and pestle, and I'm going to grind them into a very fine powder. So one thing to note while you're melting your gelatin base is you want to stir it periodically. And so as you see, our gelatin base has completely melted. So there's no lumps or clumps in it. Now I'm going to use my sifter to add the powders to the gelatin base. And you do want to not take the mixture off of the heat, because as soon as you take it off the heat, it's going to start to solidify. So you want to make sure you're holding it over the heat as you're sifting. Alright, now we have all our material in there. We're going to stir it again. And after you have it all stirred together and it's a nice consistency, then you can add your flavoring in. Now we're going to pour it into our mold. And like I said, you want to pour it immediately as soon as you take it off the heat. Once you get your mixture poured in, you want to take that spatula, which was hot, and you just want to wipe that excess water off. And you're going to use that spatula to get the excess mixture off. That way you have a nice and neat choke.
The calculations for the polyglycol troche are very similar to the calculations that we did for the gelatin troche, with two important differences. One, our base is different and therefore a different amount of base is needed to fill one troche. This is because of density. Two, solids displace at 80% in this base, again, partially due to the differing densities of the bases. We will not be adding any solids to our lozenges today, but this is important to know. Liquids will still displace at 100%. Just as before, we will subtract the ingredients from the total base to calculate how much base to use. The mold is the same as in experiment 1 and has 24 troches. Again, with a 10% margin of error, we will prepare for 27 troches. By multiplying by 27, we will have our values to begin experiment 2.
Okay, so for our second experiment, we're going to start by measuring out the polyglycol, which I've already done here. And to the beaker, you're also going to add your stir bar. So I'm going to move this and put it on my hot plate so it can start melting. And turn that on low for now. And then while that's melting, I'm going to come over here and make sure that I spray some brand name Pam into our mold so that the lozenges are able to come out when they dry. So I'm going to spray some here. And then I'm going to turn it over so that the excess can come out. Okay, so now that it's melted, we can go ahead and add our flavor. And we want to make sure that we add the flavor and allow it to mix. While that's mixing, I'm going to go ahead and add the spatula to the hot plate just like we did before so that we can use it to clean the top off of the mold. And when you do that, you want to make sure that your spatula is not too hot that you're going to burn the preparation. So you just want it warmed. Okay, so now this is mixed up, I'm going to go ahead and get my stir bar out. And then I'm going to pour, making sure that I get each hole filled. Okay, and there's a little spilling over, and you can see, but that's because we made 3 extra. I'm going to go ahead and slide this across to make sure that they are even. And then I'm going to let this dry open.
So when it comes to expiration dates, generally we're going to look at the pharmaceutical agent you put into it, but for today's purposes, since we did not add anything, we're going to say about 30 days.